A man away on a business trip decides that before leaving home the next morning that he should stop at the department store and get his wife a bottle of perfume. And so he approaches the cosmetics counter and speaks to the clerk there and says he would like to buy a bottle of perfume for his wife before he returns home. The clerk shows him a bottle of perfume and says, "This is one of our most popular perfumes, sir. It is only $49.99. And the man says, $50, that's a little bit steep and more than I was willing to pay. The clerk says, That's perfectly fine, sir. And finds another bottle of perfume and says, well, how about this one? It is still a very popular perfume, and it's only $29.99. And the man says, yeah, $30, that's still a little bit high. And the clerk says, okay, and finds another bottle of perfume and says, sir, this one is only $12.99. And the gentleman says, gosh, it's almost $15. That's still a little bit more than I was expecting to spend on cosmetics. Are you sure that you don't have anything cheaper? And the clerk says, hold on just one moment, sir. And she goes to the other end of the cosmetics counter and goes to the back and finds something and comes back quickly. And the man says, so did you find anything cheaper? And the clerk says, oh, yes, sir, I did. She holds up a mirror to illustrate the point, of course, that this man is one of the cheapest people around. We like to talk about finding value. We talk about finding things at a bargain. In today's passage in Mark, we see that a young woman values Jesus more than a very expensive bottle of perfume. Somewhat different than the man in this story. We talk all the time about values. We place price tags and values on all kinds of things, from actual goods and tangible products to people and even our goals. And as we do this, as we talk about value, we are reminded that God very often has a different value system than we do. Consider that possibly God esteems things that we deem cheap and things that we esteem of great value, God esteems for far less. One of those in particular is love. For many of us, we have a distorted value of love. Very often we talk about how we love things and we love people. We talk about how we love a favorite food. We love going to this store. We love this product. And we also love our spouses and our children and our parents and grandparents. Hopefully we don't love them all at the same value. But as we talk about love, we should understand its value. We should understand some of the values that it has. One of those values that love has that possibly we forget about is a courageous love. That love has a value of courage. As already discussed, this passage, Jesus is at the home of a man named Simon in Bethany. And as Jesus is feasting during this visit, a woman comes and pours a costly ointment or perfume upon Jesus. It's an act of love. It's love that is willing to lay aside any personal agenda and personal feelings and fears and minister not only to Jesus, but in His name. It takes courage to love. And this woman shows us what true love is, that it is courageous in spite of everyone's protests, in spite of her interrupting everyone else, in spite of her frivolously breaking this jar and using its value for something else. She anoints Jesus, and Jesus rewards her for it. She is courageous to do this in spite of what everyone else around may say. She also gives out of extravagance. Love is also extravagant in value. Her act itself is, of course, shocking and courageous, but it is also extravagant. What bothered so many was that this woman didn't understand the value of the perfume. That it could be sold and the proceeds be given to the poor. That they could use the money for them. Apparently, I thought that hadn't occurred to them in all of the other monies that they may have received along the way. Being that at least one was a tax collector and another, likely protesting, was the one in charge of the money for the disciples. They could have sold it for a small fortune and helped the poor, but they haven't tried to do that yet. But suddenly they are concerned about helping the poor and spending money wisely. Love is extravagant and love is courageous. And if we don't understand love in both its courage and extravagance, there is danger in not loving. The response of so many in today's passage are so upset that they become dangerous. People may condemn our actions done in love as being meaningless or even silly. To love Jesus and to show Christian love may be a dangerous thing. But consider Jesus' response to the woman in today's passage. He rebukes all those who are complaining and tells them to leave her alone, and reminds them that there will always be poor. In fact, the poor are around already, and they could be helping them as it was. But this young woman, and for his time on the earth, Jesus' time was limited. Jesus is pointing out the fact that religious observance, just for the sake of religious observance, or rules or duty, of some sense of instilled piety, should never get in the way of serving and loving Jesus. Tradition, religious or otherwise, without love, is misguided and destructive. Love should also not be restrained. Mark tells us that the woman broke open the alabaster jar, and in John's Gospel of this account, he adds that the aroma filled the room. Now, this isn't the kind of perfume that we're used to, that you take the plastic cap off and it has the atomizer and you spray it and dab it on. This would be one that it was necessary that you had to break the lid to be able to get it out, and it was only intended for one-time use. And it was only for that one-time use because it was for a very special purpose. So when this woman breaks this jar open, there was no holding back. She broke this jar to release the scent and to anoint Jesus for a very special purpose. This is a model of true love. Our love should not be restrained. Our love should not be held back and for only very special purposes. Love should be poured out and given as freely as we can. We do not just give a little bit, a little dab. We give all of ourselves in Christian love. Christian love does not understand withholding, restraining. It only understands giving, and giving sacrificially. God has given His best in the sacrifice of Jesus Christ. And likewise, He deserves our best. Christian love gives, but not just a little. It gives courageously, extravagantly, and in totality. The woman in today's passage shows us that love that Jesus has poured out for us, given freely and completely as an act of grace, that we might be called the children of God, loved by Him. Amen.